What is up, everybody? Welcome to Clutch Crew Sports. I'm your lead host, Zach. And on this episode, we're here to talk all about NFL free agency coming up next week. And before I introduce you to the rest of the crew, I'm probably going to be needing to take down my Rip City picture because it looks like basketball season's over. Now, let me introduce you to the rest of the crew.
What's up, guys? This is your co host, Eric. I could rant about the NBA postponing the regular season because of this virus, but instead, we're going to talk about NFL free agency. I'll have to take care of that later.
Yeah. So obviously we're literally recording this minutes after they just announced that. Kind of an ironic timing for this to be about NFL when obviously this NBA story is going to be dominating the sports headlines for the next week or so. But crazy, crazy stuff going on with the coronavirus. We don't know what's going on with Gobert and Moutier right now with the Jazz. Um, but yeah, I'm fearing that this is going to be starting to be the norm with a lot of these sports. March Madness has canceled the fans. We just did an episode talking about the coronavirus and everything, but from the time of that episode to now, things have changed drastically, and it's getting a lot worse. So, but we're not going to spend all the gloom and doom talking about that. We're going to talk about free agency because thankfully that's not going to be postponed to coronavirus. I mean, this is if anything, teams will just communicate over the phone. They won't have face-to-face meetings maybe, but
They better clean those phones real good, though. If someone touches it and breathes on it, they better
oh
wipe it
yeah.
down before someone uses it.
Yeah, better find the hand sanitizer
Get
right
the
now for
Lysol.
$80 before it goes to $800.
Get the toilet paper.
Oh man. Yeah. So, but we will be talking about free agency on this episode, guys. So the way we've broken it down is we have pictures of the top 25 free agents, and then we have 10 quarterbacks as well. Each of us have made our predictions. So myself, Zach here, Eric, Connor, and Nate. Yes, Nate's still a part of Clutch Crew Sports. It's been a while since he's been on an episode. Next week we hope to have him back, but he's doing fine. He doesn't have corona or anything, guys. Like he's on spring break, relaxed and hanging out with his family. So no need to worry about Nate or anything like that. But basically, this will be the order of our predictions. So I'm gonna always be on the top of the first slide. Eric will be on the bottom of the first slide, and then the second slide will be Connor and Nate in that order. And we've made it a little bit easier with you guys. If you remember the stars, I'm representing the stars. Eric's the circles, Connor's triangle, and Nate is square. So that's another way you can tell apart who picked who. But we'll start with the quarterbacks first here. So on our first slide, we've got 5 quarterbacks listed: Jameis Winston, Philip Rivers, Tom Brady, Teddy Bridgewater, and Ryan Tannehill. And for Winston, I've got Winston going to the Indianapolis Colts. Eric has Winston going to the Raiders. Connor also has him to the Raiders. Nate has him going to the Bucks. I guess we'll start with Winston first here. I've got him going to the Colts mainly because I think the Colts have an obvious need at quarterback. They're picking kind of far back in the draft. They have obviously every possibility to make a big leap up into the top 5 to get their quarterback, but I feel like the Colts are going to want to spend more on a premium quarterback free agent. So that's why I have them going with Winston here, just because I don't think they're in a great position right now to draft a quarterback. So they're going to want a guy coming in that's going to be good. And Philip Rivers is the likely Colts candidate, according to a lot of people. But I feel like the Colts are smart enough not to go with him. I feel like Winston's a higher rated free agent quarterback, so they're going to go with him instead. That's my reasoning on that. Just I think the Colts are smarter than taking Rivers on, but he could go anywhere really. He could even stay in Tampa, like Nate predicted. But Eric, you have him going to the Raiders. Can you explain a little bit more behind your pick there?
Yeah, I'm in kind of a weird position on mine because I have Derek Carr staying on the Raiders, and I have Jameis Winston going to the Raiders. which to in most minds probably wouldn't make sense. But the reason why I picked that, I just don't know if there's going to be a true starting quarterback market for Jameis Winston. I don't necessarily think that any team that brings him on would necessarily start him right away. So I picked the Raiders because I think that he could go there. And if they also keep Derek Carr, I could see it kind of being a similar situation with what happened in Tennessee, where Tannehill went there, Mariota was the starter and everything, and then he was failing, and then Tannehill came in. I'm kind of predicting that that could be what happens with Jameis Winston, because with so many, this is such a rare market where there's this many quarterbacks available. So I kind of went through the quarterbacks in the order of what I thought made sense. And so after I got the quarterbacks with all their teams with where I figured they would go, I still had Winston left with really nowhere to go. So I just kind of picked the Raiders because I thought they might take a fly on him. I'm not
Okay.
necessarily super confident with
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but that was how I came to that conclusion.
Okay. So the next quarterback we've got here is Phillip Rivers. I've got him going to Miami. You've got him going to Indy. Connor has him going to Indy, and Nate as well. So this is where most of the media, most everybody's predicting him going to Indy. Two reasons why I've got him going to Miami. One, I think when you look at Winston versus Rivers, I think Winston is the much better quarterback right now. So that's why I have Rivers going to Miami. Miami's a place where they've got Fitzpatrick, but who knows? I mean, he's probably going to leave because he goes to another team. He joins one team per year, so he's going to leave the Dolphins, go somewhere else, my guess. And then you've got an opening there. They're going to draft a quarterback. We don't know who it'll be, but I'm sure they're going to draft a quarterback. But Rivers seems like the perfect fit to be that bridge guy in Miami. So they have a need, they have a hole there. I like him there. He's an old veteran guy. He's obviously not going to be the future. He might not even last the season, depending on how bad he does. And if it's worth anything, he's moved his family to Florida. So it seems a little odd to just leave California and then go to Florida and then go immediately a couple months later to another state. So those are the reasons why I've got him to Miami. I wouldn't be shocked if he went to Indy, but like I said, I think Indy's a little bit too smart to pick him. But Eric, why do you think the Colts are going to sign with Rivers?
I took the Colts taking Rivers over the Dolphins. I did consider the Dolphins too, but the two reasons why I went with the Colts, one, from what I've read and researched, there Phillip Rivers has some ties with some of the coaching staff there, and so I feel like he may go there because of the natural bond that he has with them. And then I also didn't pick Miami because I feel like Miami is going to be so set on drafting a top tier quarterback and probably then starting them right away, or just keeping Fitzpatrick as the build guy. I don't really think it would make sense for them to have Fitzpatrick and Phillip Rivers. So that's why I picked the Colts. But again, I know we'll be saying this a lot throughout this episode. Free agency is such a crapshoot that it
Yeah,
could be.
take this with a grain of salt, guys.
Yeah, we might lock a couple of these, but I'm not confident in locking a lot of these. So.
Yeah, certainly. All right, so now obviously the man in the middle here, the one that probably everybody's most anxious to see what happens with, Tom Brady. Finally, for the first time ever, a free agent. Is he going to stay in New England or leave and go to any of the 8, 10 teams that he's been linked to in the past week? And I'm on that ship. I don't think he's staying in New England. I have him going to Tennessee. Eric's got him going to New England. And then Connor with New England, our resident Patriots fan, Nate holding on to the hope that Brady comes back to New England, I think, there. But for me, guys, every sign and everything that's been reported, almost everything you hear and see is that he's leaving New England. There was the report of that bad phone call last week. There was the on-court at Syracuse incident where Julian Edelman was asking him, "You staying, bro?" And he's like shaking his head no. And then obviously his relationship with Bill Belichick has been far from perfect. Those two barely get along. I'd say they don't get along. And Belichick tried to trade him a couple of years ago. Kraft intervened. Kraft is not intervening this time. We haven't heard anything out of the media from Kraft. So with Belichick in his full, Belichick does not want Brady back. So this is the perfect opportunity for him not to re-sign Brady. Honestly, I don't think Brady wants to go back because of Belichick. The team offensively isn't that great. I think if he wants to win a title, which he obviously still does want to, I think his best chance to do that is elsewhere. And I think that's he could go to any team potentially. The reason I've got him going to the Titans is they are probably the best team out of the group that's interested in him. So he's coming into the best situation. And obviously, the head coach of the Titans, Mike Vrabel, someone who Tom Brady played with, has a close bond with. They've been reported. Someone reported that he was Skype calling Vrabel a couple days ago. So
Tampering.
yeah. Yeah. So I just think it's almost all but set to go to the Tennessee Titans. But what do you think, Eric? Why do you have him going back to the Patriots?
I know Connor has locked that he's going to
Mm-hmm.
stay in New England, and I'm not as confident as Connor, but just looking at all the potential suitors of teams, that are interested in buying for a service, I don't know if it's just because Brady's been on the Patriots, so long for his entire career and everything, or what it is, but it just felt like none of the other teams made sense to me. And I know there's a history between Brady and Belichick, but they've also won several Super Bowls together. It seems like they're always able to put the differences aside. And I mean, I know there's also the rumor that Belichick wants to show he can win without
Mm-hmm.
Brady, and Brady wants to show he can win without Belichick. But to me, I don't know. None of these potential teams seem to make sense. And especially the Titans, the Vrabel thing obviously makes sense, but Tennessee's got a lot of people that they need to re-sign and figure out what they're going to do with. And if they re-sign most of those players, I don't even know if they could bring in Tom. But I've also heard about like the Bucks being a team that
Mm-hmm.
wants him. The Cowboys might want him. The Colts,
I've
none of them just like
I'll list to you guys the teams that I've heard linked. So you've got Tennessee, you've got Tampa, you've got San Francisco, you've got Dallas, you've got uh, Denver, you've got Oakland, or now Las Vegas, you've got the LA Chargers, you've got even the LA Rams. I've heard. So it's crazy, like how many teams that
yeah.
are
And some of
potentially.
those teams you mentioned though already have expensive
Yeah,
quarterbacks. So what are they going to do? Just cut them and bite that salary, or try to, I don't know, man. None of them seem like good fits to me. So that's why I'm picking New England still. I think if he still wants to continue to win, that New England is going to be his best bet. But
yeah.
again, with the crapshoot thing.
Yeah, you don't know. But like I said, guys, I do feel confident out of all the quarterbacks on the screen. I'm not gonna lock the Titans, but I'm definitely gonna lock not the Patriots just because I feel like that relationship's been so burned out. And honestly, if he wins another Super Bowl with New England and Belichick, it's not really gonna add much to his GOAT status or anything like that. But if he were able to win a Super Bowl with the Titans, he would gets so much more credit for all of his Super Bowls in New England, whereas I think a lot of people view it as a partnership with him and Belichick. I just think gain if you win elsewhere, and it's not like I just think the bridge is burned. In Tennessee, they do have a quarterback opening because both their quarterbacks are free
Hmm.
agents. So they out of all those teams, they're the ones that wouldn't have to cut anybody. I think their cap situation is fine. They're gonna, by all accounts, tag Derrick Henry, so you got that coming in. And then I don't think Tom's gonna break the bank here. I mean, he doesn't need to. I don't think he's gonna need to do that. I
Well,
think he's
see, I
gonna
don't.
take a similar
My only thing.
contract to
Well,
what
I
he's
mean, he
done.
might he might do that to do a same strategy in New England to try to build a championship caliber team. But at the same time, he's done that for so long. Is he going to
Hmm.
be willing to do that again, or does he say now this is the time, okay, I'm taking the max that I can get
Yeah.
now? Does he finally stop
Well,
doing
I
that?
don't.
Because he's done that for so long, like taking
Yeah,
stuff.
and here's the thing too: is if New England really wanted him back, they would have re-signed him earlier. They easily could have offered him a big contract earlier in the season, last year, any other time. The fact that they didn't even negotiate with him to try and re-sign him tells me that they're moving on. So, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I am confident though that he will not be a Patriot
I
next
will
year.
say though, as a Jags fan, I would love it if he went to the Titans personally.
Mhm.
I don't I personally I with as much as he regressed last year, I just don't see him being that same caliber quarterback he's
Yeah, I
been throughout
agree.
most of his career. And same thing with Philip Rivers. If he goes to the
Hmm.
Colts, because he
That's what
also
I
had a pretty
want.
bad year last year. So honestly, I'm hoping I get the Rivers one right. But if there's one pick where I'm hoping I get it wrong, it's this one because,
Exactly. Yeah.
well, unless Brady goes to some other random team, then I won't really care. But if he goes to the Titans, cool, let's go.
Yeah, same. I feel the same with you, and I also the same with Rivers too. Like I'm just assuming that Indy's smarter than that, but you never know. All right, so now we'll move on to Teddy Bridgewater. Obviously, the Saints backup. He played a little bit last year. We both have him going to Tampa. The only difference here is Nate taking him to Miami. So the thing with Bridgewater is I think he's cemented himself as a for sure starter. And I think him and Arians would be a great duo. Arians, obviously the big quarterback whisperer guy. It seems like it didn't work out with him and Winston. That's another reason I have Winston leaving Tampa, just because Arians said one time that we can win without Winston. So I think that bridge has been burned too. It just doesn't seem like Winston's coming back to Tampa Bay, but Bridgewater makes sense. You're taking him from a divisional team. He knows the Saints a little bit, whatever that factors in. I do think that does make a factor in free agency, stealing from your division rivals. I think that is teams are more likely to do that because obviously they can never get trades for division rivals. So this is a case where I see Bridgewater getting a starting chance finally in Tampa here, and he's got great weapons around him too. So I think this is going to be a good signing for the Buccaneers. I think Bridgewater can do really good with them, and out of all the other markets, this one it could be Oakland too, but Tampa, I think Tampa's once they realize they can't get Brady, I think they're gonna go heavily after Bridgewater. Eric, you feel the same way or?
Yeah, and I think it's a great fit for him too because the offensive weapons that Tampa Bay has is ridiculous. And if I was a free agent quarterback and I had a chance to go to any team that's looking for a quarterback, Tampa Bay would probably be my pick. I mean, you got Mike Evans, you got Chris Godwin, like that's an unbelievable duo at wide receiver. So I would be pretty thrilled to get to
Hmm.
go there, and it looks like Tampa Bay is going to be willing to throw out the money. So
Yeah.
you know, good for Teddy. He had that horrible knee injury a few seasons ago. He's someone I've always kind of low key rooted for. So if
Hmm.
he's able to find success in Tampa and in your uh, college city, that would be pretty cool. So
Yeah, yeah.
uh, I
So
I hope wherever he goes, unless it's a AFC South rival by
yeah,
somehow.
I don't want him going to the Colts. I'll say
Yeah, if he
that.
goes
Like,
to the Colts, then sorry, Teddy, change my
yeah.
forget everything I said. But yeah, if he goes to a team like Tampa, I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah. All right. So now we've got Tannehill, the final player on this screen. I've got him going to the Raiders. Eric, you've got him staying with Tennessee, as do Connor and Nate. And really, for me, when I pick the Raiders here, it boils down to, okay, the Titans just signed Tom Brady. You're obviously now leaving Tennessee, and I think this Gruden, I think, is sick of Carr. I think that ship is burned. So I think they're going to be releasing Carr. I don't think there's that big of a cap penalty for them to do so. So I've got Gruden wanting to make a quarterback change. He knows he can't win with Carr now 2 seasons after being the head coach. I think he looks at all these quarterbacks. I think Bridgewater goes to Tampa, and then I think Tannehill signs with the Raiders. And the Raiders aren't a bad spot to go to, but I this is just obviously, if Tom Brady stays, though, I think he does go back to Tennessee. But this is really dependent on that, and I'm guessing that's why you have him staying because it just makes the most sense for him to
Yeah,
stay.
I mean, yeah, because obviously, if Brady goes to the Titans, then my pick is going to be wrong. It's all going to depend on what Tom does to see
Yeah.
how this plays out. Because if Tom stays in New England, then most of yours are probably going to be wrong. But if he goes to Tennessee, then most of mine are probably going to be
Mhm.
wrong. So it's all up to you, Tom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Tannehill did have a good season with them last year, so I like unless they get Brady, I feel like he's going to stay there.
Yeah. All right, so we've got five more quarterbacks on the screen. A lot of these guys we have in common of where they're going to. Cam, we've all got him to the Panthers. Andy Dalton, I've got him going to New England. That's right, Andy Dalton to New England. Eric's got him going to the Bears, and then Connor and Nate have him staying with Cincy. And this is a case where the Bengals can get out of this contract. They can easily trade him or whatnot. I think once obviously Joe Burrow is going to be their future, they probably don't need Andy Dalton, so they're going to look to get whatever kind of asset they can get. It's probably going to be some late round pick, but New England's perfect at doing this. They seem to every year have like 10 draft picks anyway, so they'll just use some of their draft capital to trade for him, I think, because now they've got a quarterback hole, but I also don't think that they're going to be drafting a quarterback this year. So it's going to be a rough season, I think, for New England. And Dalton is going to be the guy I think that's most likely to come in there just because they're not going to have to break the bank for him. And they just give up a couple late round draft picks. And we'll see if Belichick can work his magic on Dalton, who hasn't he Dalton the last couple of years hasn't been good, but earlier in his career he was a pretty good quarterback. So we'll see if he can revitalize his career in New England. But I see Eric, you agree with me that you think he's leaving Cincy, but you've got him going to the Bears, right?
Yeah, I don't see them keeping him to be Burrow's backup because also I just don't think he would want to do that since he's
Mm-hmm.
going to still think he could start. But which if Brady leaves New England, I could definitely see him going there. But obviously, since I have Brady staying in New England, then I didn't pick that. But I've heard rumor that he has some connection with Bears people, kind of like what I had with the Rivers with the Colts thing, and it seems like the Bears could trade for him to then have him. I know they've said Trubisky is going to be the starter, which I have no idea why on earth they're doing that, but I don't know why you would commit to
I
him.
heard they wanted competition for him though from a veteran.
Yeah, which Andy Dalton would be a perfect
Yeah,
fit for.
I
Derek
agree.
Carr makes sense too, but I I think Andy Dalton would be a good fit for them from what I've read. So that's why I picked
Okay.
them. I definitely think he
Yeah.
gets they're traded or cut from the Bengals for
All right.
sure.
So Connor and Nate though don't. They haven't stayed with the Bengals, so it's interesting. We're split on that as a group. Dak, we've all got with the Cowboys. Looks like he's going to be tagged. That contract that he was offered, I heard, apparently while it was worth more money than Goff's contract, it had less guarantees. So it seems like at this point he rejected it. It's going to be a franchise tag situation there, unless something crazy happens where Brady goes to Dallas and then that would disrupt everything here. Dak would be a hot ticket for somewhere else. So,
Oh
like I
yeah.
said, this is still every decision here is hugely dependent on Brady, So,
hmm
that's another
He's
case of
at the
that.
top of the pyramid for
Yeah.
sure.
And then same thing with the Chargers. If he were to go to the Chargers, we've all got Mariota going to the Chargers, but obviously that wouldn't work out anymore. So the reason I've got Mariota to the Chargers is I think they're going to be drafting quarterback this year. Mariota seems like that bridge type of guy, and they're obviously moving on from Rivers, so they're getting a quarterback who's not going to be a tremendous threat to their rookie, but someone who can play, someone who's got experience. That's what teams are looking for in this situation. Seems like the reports are leaning towards the Chargers since we all four picked them there, but Eric, I assume you agree.
Yeah, and going going back to the West Coast, which is more the area where he's from, could be a good thing for him. But I don't know, man. He had a bad year last year before he got benched. if I was the Chargers, I wouldn't sign him, but
I don't
that's
think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna command a whole lot though,
no,
especially
he's
with
not.
this
It's
huge.
not like he's not going to command like
Yeah.
20 or 30 million or something. But at the same time, if I'm the Charger, I'd be doing everything I could to draft one or
Oh
something.
yeah, certainly. I
But I
certainly.
mean, if you have to have him for a bridge year, then that's fine. But if
Yeah.
if they pull like a Jaguars and give him 40 or 88 million,
Oh
like
yeah.
Bulls, they're going to be
I
looking.
don't. Yeah. I don't see that with him. As considering how Foles was Super Bowl MVP 2 seasons ago and Mariota got benched last season. I think there's quite a
Yeah,
difference there.
that's true. That's true.
Um, so now Derek Carr rounds out our list. Once again, not a free agent, but with all the potential stuff going on in Oakland, I think it's fair to put him on this list. So I've got him going to the Bears. I think he's going to be that veteran challenge in Chicago with Trubisky as opposed to Dalton, which you were saying earlier. I think Gruden moves on from him. I don't think Gruden ever wanted uh, this guy here, Derek Carr. It always seemed like Carr was sucking up to Gruden, like being like a teacher's pet and everything because he was trying to win Gruden over. But Gruden has never really liked him. That's why I think he's going to release him or trade him or something this offseason. And the Bears make sense for him. Although Chicago fans probably won't be too happy because now they've got two underperforming quarterbacks now. If this were to come true, but Derek Carr, I think the Chicago. I don't know who would win that starting. Probably Carr would win that starting battle in Chicago, but which would be good for him since I think he probably won't be a starter in too many other places. So I think it makes sense for both team and party here.
Yeah, and I again have no confidence really with him staying with the Raiders. But since I had Dalton going to the Bears, I just didn't really see anywhere that would make sense for him to go. So I just kind of picked this in the sense that maybe the Raiders hang on to him and then bring in someone else and have a competition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got Jameis going there. That's out of all these 10 situations though, like Winston and Carr are my like least confident
Yeah.
pick, but especially with both of them being on the same team. But
Mm-hmm.
this was
Maybe
a
you'll
lot.
get one of them right. You're hedging your
Yeah, if I
bets.
get one of them right, I'll take 1 out of 2. That's not bad.
Yeah. And
So
then Connor and Nate, they also picked what we did. Connor went with Chicago and Nate went with the Las Vegas Raiders. That's going to be one that I'm going to have to.
yeah, we've already between the two of us said Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah. We still say San Diego Chargers sometimes, but this is just for the first time now with the Las Vegas Raiders. So it'll take us a while, guys. So now we've got the rest of our top 25 here. We won't go in depth like we did with every single player that you see here. We'll say where they all go, but obviously Clowney is one of the biggest non-quarterbacks to be on the market this year, and I've got him going to the Titans. Eric's got him going to the New York Giants, and Connor and Nate also have him with the Titans. And the reason I've got him to the Titans is I don't think Brady's going to take that much money. He's not going to wreck the salary cap for Tennessee, so I think it's still affordable. It's possible for them to still get Clowney, who's going to command top dollar, obviously. But when you look at what Clowney said, is he wants to play for a winner and he wants to get max money. The Titans have plenty of cap space and they were in the AFC Championship game. So I think with those two factors combined, it seems most likely for him to go there. He also gets a chance to have revenge against his former team Houston in the AFC South. I think that's also another factor that could go his way. No state income tax in Tennessee. So whatever contract he gets in Tennessee, he has no state income tax. I do think, especially with players that seem to be wanting all the money that they can possibly get, I think that's a factor for him here. That's a kind of an underrated factor, but with the no income tax, with the division rival to your old team, with the contending team, those are all the reasons I've got him with Tennessee. But he could go to a host of other teams, and Eric, you'll say why you think it's the Giants.
yeah, I picked the Giants because they have one of the most most salary cap space out of all the teams in the NFL. I think I read they're like they have fifth or sixth
Yeah.
most amount of money. And I know he said he wants to go to a winner, but the Giants are desperate for edge rusher, defensive end type of players. They have basically nobody, and they have a boatload of money. So I think they're going to throw the bank at him. And I know we kind of talked about it earlier with the Brady and the salary thing, but I just don't know if he's going to truly take less money. I don't think the Titans would be able to afford him, especially if the Giants offer him a boatload of money. I don't think Tennessee would be able to match it.
But
And
you do have the income tax thing,
yeah,
so you can
you
always say
got the
that
state
yeah.
you got the state income tax thing, but I just feel like the Giants are going to be able to offer him so much more significantly that I
Mhm.
don't think it's going to matter. That's why I picked
Okay.
him going to the Giants. So
All
they
right.
have like 60 million in cap
Yeah, they
room or
do have a
something.
lot. They do have a
If
lot.
they want him, they'll get him.
Yeah. Another team that's got a lot, the Miami Dolphins. We're going to be talking about them next. So Anthony Harris, a safety for the Vikings. This actually, we'll just kind of run through him because I'm not too familiar with him, but I've also got him going to Miami. A lot of cap space there. You've got him going to the Redskins. I will ask you though, since you're the only one out of the group that picked him in the Redskins, what did you see about the Redskins here?
The
Because
reason
they,
why I picked the Redskins is that
yeah,
this guy's kind of an emerging up and coming defensive back, and this situation kind of reminds me of what happened with them not too long ago with Josh Norman. The Redskins are notorious for signing a player like this that's kind of like an up and coming,
hmm
guy, and then they sign them for way too much money. Like the Redskins are just so notorious for this. I feel like they need a lot of help in the secondary, and I feel like they're going to be kind of like the JV and Clowney with the Giants thing. I think they're going to throw the bank at him, but I mean the Dolphins could too because of the all the salary. I think they have the highest amount of salary cap space, but this just to me just reeked of the Redskins going all in on a guy that they probably shouldn't. But
yeah.
that's why I picked them.
Well,
Again, I'm not like super confident
yeah.
with that, but I
Well,
saw reports linked to him, and I just felt
mhm.
like that was something they might do.
My counter for the Dolphins, my reasoning behind that is the Dolphins I think have the most salary cap, I want to say. So I think they've got even more than the Redskins do. And
Oh
they
yeah, they
have
do.
they have more of a need at safety as well, trading Minka Fitzpatrick last year, whereas the Giants signed Landon Collins just last offseason. So I think as a position, Washington feels okay about their safeties, whereas Miami definitely needs him a lot more. And they've got the space for him. They've got, also the income tax thing and being in Florida too is an
Yeah,
advantage.
I could see that.
So I've got him to Miami, but Washington, you are right. They do. There's going to be somebody that they're going to throw the
I mean,
bag
they
to
gave
that
Albert
you're not
Haynesworth
expecting.
$100 million
Yeah,
for Christ's sake.
yeah. So there's going to be some unexpected thing. The Redskins will be involved, guys. We just don't know where. Um, Now, because you were different on this pick, so Byron Jones, the cornerback for the Cowboys, I've got him going to the Eagles. You have him at the Jets. Connor and Nate also has him with the with the Eagles. So this is a case where the Eagles have such a glaring need here at cornerback. They're going to spend whatever they can to get a cornerback. I think it's going to be Jones because there's the division rival connection going on here, and I that's really the only thing I could say. Glaring need, division rival. Seems where all the reports are heading to. But why do you have him going to the Jets, Eric?
I have him going to the Jets just because again, with my little bit of research that I did, he was actually in what I was reading was linked to both of the New York teams, but
hmm
I feel like if the Giants get Clowney, they're not going to get him,
Yeah.
Byron Jones. So I took the Jets because they also have a need at corner, and I know they have Jamal Adams at safety, and they want to keep him happy because they want him to stick around when it's time for his contract to be up. So I feel like the Jets are going to make an aggressive push to try to get him to really, give their secondary a nice boost. Again, this isn't one I'm super confident
hmm
in, but um, just kind of a report I read, and it just felt good, and I stuck with it.
Okay. That's what you got to do in free agency, man. So, uh, Shaq Barrett, the next guy on our list, we all have him staying with Tampa. It appears he wants to stay there. The team wants to stay here. It's just a matter of working out the contract. So no need to discuss that. And then Joe Tooney, I have him to the Jets. Eric's got him to Miami, and then Connor and Nate have him to the Bengals. So a guy that's being tossed around to a lot of different teams, but he's an offensive lineman, guys. We don't grade offensive linemen on this show, so we don't really know where it's going to end up being or why. But all these teams that we listed have glaring needs at the offensive line. They all have a lot of cap space, so it could really be any of them. We're not going to really try and sell you guys on one or the other. So we'll move on to the next group of players, starting with DJ Reader here. And the three of us have him to the Texans, so we assume he's going there. Connor's got him to the Bills. He's pretty confident in that from the Facebook post he messaged in the group chat. But I think Reader's going to come back. Amari Cooper here is on the next the next one. Eric and I both have him with the Cowboys. Connor and Nate have him going to the Broncos and Eagles. My reasoning behind Cooper staying with Dallas, and I'll see if Eric agrees with me here, is that Dallas essentially traded their first round pick for him, and they don't want to lose their first round pick after 2 years. And also, he is vital to Dak Prescott's success. So I feel like he's going to demand a lot of money, but it's going to be a guy that they cannot lose this guy. There's no way that Dallas can lose Amari Cooper. And it seems like Cooper kind of wants to come back. He's cool with Dallas. He's cool with Dak. He likes Jerry Jones. So it seems like a mutual interest going there, but really the Cowboys are desperate and they are tied to him. So is that what you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just trade away a first round pick for a person and then let them walk. I mean, Dallas is going to need to do whatever they can to get him to stick around. I mean, to me, why they didn't try to negotiate him or Dak sooner so that they wouldn't have this problem with trying to negotiate both of them at the same time. I would have tried to have at least locked one of them up sooner so that then you could tag whichever one you weren't able to get right away. But now with them having negotiating with both of them, obviously they can't tag both of them. So, they are in a
tough spot. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot, but they got to do whatever they can to keep both him and Dak if they want to be successful going forward. So I think he stays, but if he gets offered more money from somewhere else, I could see him jumping ship. But I picked Dallas because I think they're going to find a way to do whatever they got to do to keep him.
Yeah. All right, so Corey Littleton, a linebacker for the Rams, next on our list. We all have him staying with the Rams. Not too familiar with him, doesn't play in the AFC, so I'll move on. Now, Austin Hooper, the prize tight end free agent out of this class, we all have him going to the Redskins. My reasoning for that is just they have a huge need there. I don't really know if the Redskins are interested in him, but I just know that they need a tight end really badly, and he's the best one available. They've got cap space to do it. Just makes sense. I don't think they have a tight end on their roster, so you feel the same way there, Eric?
Yeah,
I'll ask you, did you actually see reports to the
Redskins?
Yeah,
I saw reports that there was interest, and I didn't really see reports from other teams. And like you said, with the need, it just makes sense. And as I mentioned earlier, Washington is notorious for overpaying. I do feel like he could be, if I was going to say, like, out of these top 25 free agents, like which one could be the biggest bust, I could see it being him. I feel like in Atlanta, he benefited from playing alongside other great wide receivers, whereas in Washington, he's going to have to, if that's where he goes, he's going to have to be that lead guy. And I don't feel like he's that
He hasn't done it long enough for me. That's the
thing. I feel like this is going to be an overpay. So as long as Jacksonville doesn't sign him, I'm good.
Yeah. We need a tight end, but we need to draft a tight end, I think. I wouldn't trust Hooper for the amount he's going to go for.
No, I wouldn't sign it. We already made that mistake with Julius Thomas. Yeah.
Yes. And then we let a cheap guy in Mercedes Lewis go who's still having an impact. So,
Yep.
All right, the next Jaguar, potential ex-Jaguar here in the list, Yannick Ngakoue. The two of us have him to Seattle, as does Connor. Nate going to the Raiders. I want to know why he did that later on, but really it seems like Dave Caldwell's going to have to trade him at some point. It's just a matter of when. So studying Dave Caldwell's trade trends, he's patient. and he's going to trade him to the NFC. And the only really AFC team I could see is Miami, since they have so many first round picks. If they're willing to give one up, I think you would do it. But the proposed trade of Seattle, it seems like that's been the most consistent news report going on with him. I don't see them trading him to the Chiefs or the Ravens or any team like that. Definitely not the Titans or Colts. They have the power not to do that, which is important. You don't want him, you don't want him in a Colts uniform if you're Dave Caldwell. So I see Seattle as the most logical for the Jaguars to want him to go to, and the Seahawks really have a need there with now Clowney being a free agent. So they've done this before. Seattle's made this type of trade before. I think they're going to do it again. Um, I do think they are going to have to pay a first, because it seems like for as bad as Caldwell has been at a lot of things, he's gotten a lot of good trades. I mean, he got 2 firsts for Ramsey. He got fourth rounder for a guy he was going to cut in Boye. So I will give Caldwell credit on his trades, because he has pulled off some good trades. It's not easy getting 2 firsts. It's not easy getting a pick for a player that you're going to dump anyway. So I think it's going to work out. It's just a matter of time. And this is a case where it might be a little while until we hear this break out. We're not going to, this isn't it to compare it to like an election or something. This is going to be one of those states that doesn't report all their votes right away, So this is going to be after free agency. We'll figure it out. But I assume you think for the reports also that's why you have him in Seattle, Eric.
Yeah, I just think with the proposed deal that's being thrown around that Seattle makes the most sense. I mean, like you said, unless Miami gets involved or something. But and speaking of Dave Caldwell too, he did get a 6th-round pick for Blaine Gabbert, for Christ's sake. So I mean that was a huge win. But yeah, obviously they're gonna franchise tag him and trade him. There's no way he stays in Jax. But I feel like Seattle makes the best or the most sense for both teams. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, man. Obviously, with him being a Jaguar, this one relates to us a lot.
Yeah,
So
we know how good he can be.
Zach and I will be monitoring this very closely.
Yes. We will be the Twitter people that are monitoring Nick Ngakwe. A lot of people they might have Clowney covered, or some of these other guys, Brady and all that stuff. We will be the Ngakwe reporters.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we'll move on now to the next group of candidates. So on this group, we've got Chris Harris to start with. I've got him going to the Raiders. You've got him going to Philly, and then Connor and Nate have him to the Lions. Real quick, I'll just say for the Raiders' sake, they need a corner badly, and Gruden's got a lot of money, division rival. Basically, the same, a lot of the same themes that I've said before apply to this case also. I think he can get a lot from the Vegas Raiders now. I think that's potentially a desirable place for him, and I think with the other corners and stuff that I have going on in the draft and the free agency and stuff, I think it leaves the Raiders to him. But you've got him going to the Eagles. I guess, why do you have that?
I did that just because since I don't have Byron Jones going there,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like then
Yeah.
the Eagles getting Chris Harris makes the most sense as a second option. Obviously, if Byron Jones goes to the Eagles, this is not going to happen, but they're not going to be able to sign both of them. I just felt like since I had Byron Jones going elsewhere, that then the Eagles made the most sense for Chris Harris here.
Yeah. And we are kind of split on this because Connor and Nate both have him to the Lions. So it just tells you how split we are on some of these guys. And then the next one, Devin McCourty. I've got him going to the Lions. I'll just say it for the only reason I picked him to the Lions is because it seems like every New England defender signs with Matt Patricia's Lions. It just seems like that's what happens. All these expatriates go there. No report, nothing I really looked up for this guy. Just that pure trend is why I have him with the
It's an
Lions.
instinct.
Yeah, it's just an instinct. It's just happened every time. I'm going to do it again, and might get me wrong this year. Why do you think he's staying with New England?
I just feel like it makes the most sense. I've heard that New England is interested in keeping both him and his brother. So, and I'm sure that they probably like playing together. And he's played his whole career there in New England. He had a chance to leave before and he didn't. So I feel like unless just for whatever reason New England doesn't want him, that he's going to stay there.
Okay, and then I'll see. Connor and Nate both have him with the Patriots. So I'm a lone wolf here, but you never know. Eric Armstead, we all have staying the San Francisco. It's hard to predict him. I thought maybe the Giants, but you'll see later on. I've got the Giants spending money elsewhere. So it's hard to predict. Guy seems like San Francisco wants him back. They're a good team. They can offer that hometown discount. I think it'll work out for him. Joe Schobert, he's a Cleveland Brown linebacker right now, up for free agency. There's going to be a lot of linebacker shifting, kind of like the quarterback shifting. I've got him going to the Packers just because now they have a huge need there at middle linebacker with Martinez as a free agent. You have him also to the Packers, whereas Connor has him staying with Cleveland. Nate has him going to the Packers. So it seems like Packers and Browns are where his teams he's drawing interest from. It's really going to be a question of, do the Packers value him so much more than Martinez, which I think they do. I don't think they value Martinez as much, which is why I have him going to Green Bay and then opening up a door in Cleveland. But why do you think, Eric, you've got him in Green Bay?
Yeah, I honestly think that Cleveland makes the most sense for him to stay there, but I picked Green Bay because I guess he's from Wisconsin and has a
Oh,
lot
okay.
there. And then I've also heard that Cleveland has stopped negotiating with him
Ooh,
and is letting him test the market. So that's those
yeah,
two reasons for why I didn't pick the Browns. So,
yeah.
and kind of the same thing like you said, it seems like if the Packers are heavily interested in him, which is what the rumors are saying, then it would make sense for them to
Hmm.
move on from Martinez and then sign him. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was an interesting situation. I didn't know anything about that until I started researching for my predictions here, and I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting turn of
Yep.
events."
Yep.
So, yeah. So even though I don't like the Packers, looks like that might be where he's going.
Yeah. All right, Javon Hargrave, a Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackle right now. It appears by all accounts he's leaving Pittsburgh, going to be too much for them to pay him. And Connor and I, or Eric and I, have him go into the Colts, and then Connor and Nate being similar again. Once again, here on this page, they've got a lot of similarities. They've got him going to the Dolphins, and this is a case where need and a lot of cap space. The Colts have a lot of cap space. I do think this year they will make one big move, like they did. They usually make like one big move. It's not going to be the biggest move in free agency. They're not going to add on to it with three other guys or anything like that, but they will pay a premium starter at some position. And I think defensive line's where they're going to do it at. Just seems to me like the Colts are one of the teams on his list. And I think the Colts are one of the types of teams that would sign him just from what history says. And yeah, so did you have any extra info on this for the Colts?
Nah.
Okay. You looked at mine and copy
Just
paste.
that was another little bit of report reading, and I mean I could see Miami because of the state income
Yeah,
tax thing, but if he wants to go to a
a
team
better
that
team.
is more
Yeah,
built to be a contender right now, then the Colts would make more sense. But
certainly.
yeah, I guess Connor might be bummed about him if he leaves Pittsburgh. We'll have to get his thoughts on that.
Yeah. I want to hear what he's got to say as well for that. Now we'll move on. Next, Jaguar here to start out with Dante Fowler. I've got him going to the Jets here. I think the Jets have a pretty big need here as an edge rusher. Really, somebody they need to get a lot of sacks for them. They've got Quinnen Williams from the draft. Although I did hear there's some sort of article that he was arrested for something, but they need a guy that can get on sacks. They've got cap space. I think this is where the Jets. I think this is the first player that the Jets I've got predicted. So they've got cap space. You know they're going to do something. They're the Jets. They do this every year. Dante Fowler is where I think they're going to spend their money at. But you guys all have him going to the Falcons. So are you hearing something that I'm not?
Well, what I read is that he has ties with what their coach Dan O'Quinn,
Uh-huh.
and that was my biggest reason for picking him to go there. Also, they're letting Vic Beasley walk, and so they're definitely going to
Hmm.
have a need for an edge rusher as well. So I feel like the fit makes a lot of sense for Atlanta. I'm not sure if Connor and Nate picked the Falcons for the same reasons as me, but those were it's nice. A lot of these
Yeah.
I've been the one different one on, so it was nice that I was in more of the majority on this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear their thoughts. But because of them letting Vic Beasley leave, I feel like Fowler's a good fit there, and it seems like they're a team that might be on the top of his list. But I will say the Falcons definitely do not have as good of a cap picture as the Jets do. So if the Jets are able to offer him
Hmm.
significantly more money,
He wants the money.
I could definitely see that. So
Yeah.
we'll
Uh,
see.
yeah. Next on our list here, Jack Conklin, a premier right tackle, is hitting the market, leaving the Titans, and it appears with all the stuff going on with the Titans, they're not going to be able to keep him. So we've got him going. We all have him going to a team that really has a need at this spot. They've got a lot of money, that being the New York Giants. Seems like consensus that that's where he's going to go, but you never know. Anything can happen in free agency. I remember Andrew Norwell was heavily predicted to go to the Giants a couple years ago, and then the Jaguars came up with a late offer. So you never know, but for right now, it seems like that's the move for him. Our next offensive lineman here, Brian Balaga, looks like he could be starring in a horror movie, chasing you around a forest with a chainsaw. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I could. I mean, I wasn't thinking that, but then when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I
Just
get.
from this picture here, I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, happy
If
guy,
your
but doesn't
your
look
horror
happy in this.
movie if your horror movie works out, are you going to try to get Brian Bulaga to be the
Oh
villain?
yeah, yeah, he's gonna have yeah. So we have him staying with Green Bay, as does Nate. Connor being the lone wolf here to the Jets. Just seems like he wants to finish his career in Green Bay. I just don't see him leaving really. This kind of like a Tom Brady case. I'm not sure if he's gonna get as much from Green Bay as other places, but he probably just wants to stay with his buddy Aaron Rodgers and try and make one more run at it. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, the only reason why I think he wouldn't stay in Green Bay would be as if Green Bay didn't want him.
Yeah.
But obviously he wants to be there, so as long as the feeling is mutual, that's where he's going to be.
Hmm.
I would almost be willing to lock this one.
Okay. Blake Martinez next up, another Packer. I've got him going to the New York Giants. You've got him going to Cleveland. Uh, Connor's got him staying in Green Bay, and Nate has him going to Cleveland. So a lot of different teams here on this list. But for me, being the lone wolf with New York, they have a need here. They have money. I think they're going to outbid Cleveland on this one, since Cleveland's going to be having, I believe, some other positions that they want to spend at. Need money. Green Bay doesn't want him. I'm just kind of surprised Connor's got him still at Green Bay. I believe it was Connor yeah, Connor had him at Green Bay. Um, but I think it'll be New York. I wouldn't be shocked. Cleveland would be my number two, though. So why do you think Cleveland?
Just because since they're letting
Schobert, yeah.
Gobert go, then they're obviously going to have a big need there. So I don't know if maybe they're thinking he'll be a cheaper option than Schobert, and that's why they're letting Schobert go to see if they can get him. Just reports I've read have linked him to Cleveland, but this is one I'm not super confident in.
Yeah.
But obviously with them letting Schobert go, they will have a need there. So
Yep.
if they take him or if they're able to sign him, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Kenyon Drake, our running back here, we all have him staying with Arizona. They traded for him. That he likes Arizona. The Arizona wants him back. Just a matter of working out that deal. It seems like that's why we all have him staying with Arizona. No other real teams show up on his name. Moving on now to this is the last group of five before we wrap this episode up. Clinton Dix. Uh, I've got him going to the Browns. You've got him going to the Bears. Connor's got him going to the Giants, and Nate's got him going to the Bears. So, sorry guys. The reason I was pausing so much to say Eric's name is because Connor's been in like every episode like the past month. So I always just feel like Connor's going to be in this episode. Like I'm passing it off to Connor. So I keep instinctively wanting to say his name. That's why I had that pause there, guys. But he's obviously not in this one. So this is, like I said, I don't think the Browns are going to have the money because they're going to have other signings later on. Haha is a spot for them to go after. I don't think he's going to be incredibly expensive. Obviously, every free agent is going to be more than they're really worth, but I don't think he's going to demand that much. I think Chicago They're kind of entering like a rebuild stage, I want to say. I don't know if he's going to want to come back there. I don't know if if Chicago really wants him back as much. The Browns seem like a potential landing spot for him. They have a need. They can have some money if they don't spend on a guy like Martinez and stuff. They might not sign another guy that I predicted them to go to, but just something interesting. I think I saw an article with the potential of the Browns, though you never know. But you've got him staying in Chicago. How come?
Yeah, this one was one of the hardest picks for me to make. There's a lot of uncertainty with him, and it's really hard to tell what his market's going to be like. But I think for him, it would be best to be able to just stay somewhere and be, able to have the same. I don't even know what the word like structure, I guess, because he's been from team to team to team so much here in these last couple seasons. It'd probably be nice for him just to be able to lock down and stay one place and not constantly having to learn new playbooks and new teammates and new schemes and all that. So I just think personally it would be best for him to stay in Chicago, which is most of these picks I made because of what I think teams are going to do. But this one I picked more so for his personal interest. I think it would be best for him to stay there, but who knows, man, with this one. I had a hard time with him.
Yeah, so moving on now, Melvin Gordon, next on our list here, free agent running back from the Chargers. I've got him going to KC. You guys all have him going to Miami. And the reason I've got him going to KC is, especially after his last season, his value went way down. He's not going to, being a running back, your value is already low. Having a year where you hold out half the games and then the half the games you do play and you don't look great means he's not going to get as much money as he wanted. And the Chargers just re-signed Eckler to a big deal, so I don't think he's going back to them. And the fact that they re-signed Eckler tells you that they value him more than Gordon, which is kind of crazy considering 2 years ago he was one of the best running backs in the league. So his value has really gone down a lot. That's why I think KC can't afford him. And I think it's going to be mutual interest. Another division foe, a chance to go back at your old team, not to mention the team that just won the Super Bowl. You're not going to have as great of a role, but I think there is an interest here. I think Kansas City would want to have a guy like him because they don't really have a number one running back right now on their roster. It's kind of a mix of guys. If they could get him, I think they can offer him a lower contract. Being a Super Bowl champion, having Pat Mahomes on your team, it's incredibly valuable to free agents making their decisions. That's why I think I think he's going to go there instead of potentially a few more dollars from the Dolphins. I think that those factors of the team and all that around him are going to outweigh potentially a little bit more money. But I don't even think Miami's going to really break the bank for him. But do you think Miami, I guess, is going to break the bank for him, and should they?
I don't necessarily think Miami will break the bank. I mean, obviously they can afford to if they want to compared to Kansas City, but I think going to Miami makes more sense for him because if he goes to Miami, he can be the guy there. Whereas in Kansas City, he'd have to shuffle between Damian Williams and McCoy and
in a pass heavy offense too.
Yeah, and he's in a pass heavy offense with Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and all those other guys. So I mean, if he wants to win, going to KC makes more sense. But if he wants to play more and get a little more money, then I think going to Miami makes more sense because Miami's running back crew is pretty garbage right now, especially since they traded Kenyon Drake last year. And I know, what's his name? Kalen Ballage was supposed to, they were really high on him, but then he really wasn't any good. And they just don't have any weapons at the running back right now. So I think Miami would be a great fit for him to try and prove that he can still, perform at a high level. Whereas in KC, I think he would be kind of lost in the shuffle. But I mean, if he goes to KC, though, my God, they would be even better than they already are. I hope he doesn't go there, but
yeah, I know.
But that's why I picked Miami for him.
Yeah. Jason Peters next on our list, an offensive lineman, potentially leaving Philly. It seems like that's the case. We all have him going to the Browns, though. And I won't really talk too much about him, but Eric, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because every time I look at this picture, it looks like he's wearing goggles. Do you see that?
Yeah, or like it looks like he had goggles on for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Just took 'em off.
Like some half goggles or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny picture there. Jamie Collins, the next on this list here, former Patriot, going to be a free agent. We've got him going to New Orleans, as does Nate. Connor, the lone wolf, taking him to Kansas City. Just from the reports I read, it seems like it's going to New Orleans. I don't really have too much more to say other than that. And then we'll move on. Same for you.
Yeah.
Not too familiar with him either. If Nate was here, he could talk more about him. But moving on now to the final guy on our free agency list. I know it's been a while, guys. We finally got to the end of this, but the sideshow Bob of the NFL, Robbie Anderson. That was a Simpsons reference, guys, in case you didn't know. Um, uh, I've got him going to the Raiders here because I think he's the exact type of receiver that Gruden wants. The Raiders, you messaged in the group chat, they're linked to 10 of these guys. I think it's going to be the case where they're going to offer him a lot more money. He really seems like the Gruden type of receiver that can stretch the field, and I think that's what they really want in with that offense. So I think that's why Gruden and the Raiders are going to offer him more than anybody else. And surprisingly, the second worst neck two out of all these pictures on our screen, Robbie Anderson. Eric.
Well, what I was gonna say about Robbie Anderson. Well, I guess I'll do my
Okay.
analysis first. But going into the offseason, the Jets would have been one of the last teams I would have picked because it seemed like he wanted out of there so bad. But the Jets did have a decent stretch at the end of their season. Darnold seemed to be showing improvement, and the reports I'm reading are that he has a mutual interest in staying as long as the money is good, and the Jets seem to really want him back as well. It seemed like Darnold had really good chemistry with him, and so the Jets are definitely not going to want to lose that. They're going to want Darnold to be comfortable. So that's why I picked the Jets, but I do feel like if he leaves the Jets, though, the Raiders would be his pick. But what I was going to say about Robbie Anderson was he looked like he was in like a science museum and he put his hand on one of those like things where the lightning comes
Yeah.
out, like your hair like poofs out because of it. Like that's what I think he looks like in this picture. I can't look at his picture there without laughing. His hair is just
Yeah.
so crazy looking.
And then, but do you agree with me though? Well, okay. So
The
which neck
Sideshow Bob
tattoo?
reference.
Well, also that, and then the neck tattoos between him and Collins. Which one? Which neck? If you Eric Conger had to get a neck tattoo of one of
Oh my
these two
God.
neck tattoos, which one would
Well, I
it be?
will say I would take either of these neck tattoos over Terry Rozier's owl tattoo, but I guess what does that say on?
I don't know.
See, it would depend on what that
Some
says.
gibberish,
Maybe
maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, but at least with Jamie Collins, it looks like it's supposed to be like a chain necklace of a cross or something. So I guess I could deal with that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe like I
I
don't
don't
know.
know if it's a cross or just a pure chain.
Well,
Like,
see, it's clearly a chain, but then there's something in the middle that looks like it's. I
oh,
mean,
okay.
maybe that's why he's going to the Saints. Maybe it's the Saints logo.
Maybe.
I don't
It
know,
just
man.
looks weird. It just, when you can't see the rest of it, I guess.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
guess if I had to pick one, unless Robbie Anderson just says something really cool, which I don't think it does. I can't really tell. Like I'll go with Jamie Collins. So I guess I have to ask you the same question. You can't ask me that without me asking you the same thing. So
yeah, I'm gonna go the Robbie Anderson just because I don't know what's underneath the chain and who knows what it could be. And also it just looks weird to have a chain around your neck tattooed. Like, it's one thing to
well,
like
this that
wear
way you
it and
don't have to
stuff,
wear a
but
necklace. You know, you
yeah,
just
I
get
know,
an
I know. But I don't know
ornament.
what it says there, but at least it looks like like it's in like a cool font, maybe. Like I wouldn't get that to two guys. I wouldn't,
And
but
would you get either of those, or would you get Terry Rozier's owl neck
oh
tattoo?
yeah, either of those over the owl.
Okay, okay, we are at least in agreement.
Yeah,
And
but
this
yeah,
is how we'll
so
know if any of our viewers have made it this far. Because if you made it this far, let us know in the comments
yeah.
which neck tattoo you're digging. This is critical.
And so since the last three guys we kind of made funny jabs at with the eyebrows slash goggle, tan or whatever. The chain tattoo, the Robbie Anderson mystery tattoo, plus his hair. I think it's only fair that we hit the rest of the guys here. So, haha, Clinton Dix. First of all, your name is haha. Second of all, your eyes are really close together, man. Melvin Gordon, you suck this year. Like you just
Well, also with haha Clint Dixon, it could be the lighting in the picture, but it looks like he has a bad tan line on his neck.
oh yeah.
It's got to be the lighting, but
Melvin
still,
Gordon
like,
looks the most normal out of all these, though. Like, um, I didn't plan on this being the case, guys. I didn't
yeah.
plan on taking all these pictures, but it's hard to find something on Melvin Gordon. Like,
This
but
was definitely unplanned topic. Melvin
unplanned.
Gordon's kind of his picture just looks like a mugshot or something. Like
Yeah,
he just looks so blank faced, like looking into the camera. Like that's I
no
guess my for
emotion.
him, but yeah,
Cool.
no,
But yeah, but I will. Okay, so I'll ask you: did you agree though with the Sideshow Bob reference on
oh
Anderson?
yeah,
Yeah,
totally, man. It's just change it to like a red color and you've got it.
yeah. Going all in all sorts of directions and stuff. But that's gonna wrap this one up, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our takes on free agency. Like I said, though, don't hold us to any of these by locks. We're not locking these. These are simple projections and predictions on our gut feelings, on our own research. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's not like this is not like we're doing this the
Yeah,
day before free
this
agency where
isn't our job
everybody
either.
knows
So
everything's gonna happen. You know,
yeah,
this is still a good almost a week before, well, I guess a few days before the legal tampering period starts. So right now everything's just a whole bunch of, hoopla and
yep.
rumors to throw everybody off, and it's really too early to predict. But I like that we did this now, because if we do end up getting a lot of these right, we're going to look like total geniuses.
Oh
So
yeah.
whereas if we get them wrong, it's like, oh, it was too early to tell,
Yep.
whatever, like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. So I like the timing of it. I think it was perfect.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for listening to this episode. And remember, be clutch.
Peace.